Alex Crawford, thanks for joining Sky News. Where are we at in terms of identifying the cause of the blast and those culpable?
Well, I don't think we're any closer at all, and so many questions here from so many people in Lebanon about just what happened, who knew what, and why didn't they take any action. The facts as they stand, and which are pretty uncontested at the moment, is that there was this huge amount of very dangerous, potentially explosive chemical that was stored at Beirut port for more than 6 years. That in itself, many people feel, is very damning against the government authorities, because if they knew that, and they did, why didn't they take action to get it moved, to dispose of it, to somehow alleviate that risk and do something to avert this enormous catastrophe which has basically floored the country. It has now affected the area which was responsible for bringing in 90% of the imports which this country relies on. It's absolutely destroyed the silos of grain, which now means that the country has less than a month's supply left for the whole country. It's left 300,000 people displaced. That's the size of an entire city, basically, and it's decimated and destroyed much of the capital itself. The cost, the economic cost, just on its own, is expected to run into billions. Never mind the knock-on effect, the traumatic knock-on effect of people's lives, maimed bodies, relatives lost. There are still 80 missing people and thousands injured, some of them very critically injured, in hospital. We were at the port and were with the first international search and rescue teams to try and find, at this late stage, a very small, slim chance of finding survivors. They think if any have survived at all, they will be below ground. Engineers had provided a map showing that there was this underground bunker, this underground room, which they're hoping could have offered some sort of shelter to at least some of the workers there. And they'll be continuing that work throughout today to try and pierce down and get through all the mountains of rubble to find out if anyone is still alive there. And that is a small glimmer of hope to many people in pretty much an ocean of despair here.
Can you give us a sense of the anger from residents there? Who are they angry at, and how long has this anger been festering?
There is a huge amount of anger here, and it's already spilled out into the streets, but within hours of this explosion happening, they were already angry. In the middle of this huge event, this enormous catastrophe, and it's very difficult to overestimate just how big this catastrophe is to this country, because they were facing so many challenges already. They'd had years, decades of conflict, terror, instability, insecure government. On top of that, they were trying to cope with a global pandemic, and then this happened. The country was already finding it very difficult to cope. Even before this catastrophe happened, they were feeling that Lebanon was on the brink of collapsing anyway. They had a creaking medical infrastructure which couldn't cope anyway. Then suddenly thousands of people were injured, and people were having to be mobilized to rescue people, to try and counteract. I mean, imagine being in your room, your office, your bedroom, driving along the street, and suddenly in 20 seconds, at the height of people going home or going out, there is this huge catastrophic explosion that is so big it blows out the windows, doors, knocks down balconies, brings down trees, makes mincemeat of cars and loads of other vehicles. Imagine that happening. Your life is changed in an instant. So yes, there is huge amount of anger, because they believe this cargo, ammonium nitrate, nearly 3,000 tons of it, they know that the government knew that it was stored at the port for more than 6 years. So why wasn't it dealt with? Why wasn't it made safe? These are the mounting questions as they're now coming to terms with a shock. There's still huge amount of shock, and there's still a huge amount of debris all over the place. But there's already a great deal of anger, and they feel the politicians have let them down big time.